la directora de marketing del Linden Lab de Europa, que bueno, nos va a hablar un poco sobre la plataforma que es de mundo virtual Second Life, que este año celebra su sexto año de funcionamiento y puesta en marcha. Good afternoon, Clare, welcome to Ibiza RL and SL.
Gracias. Hola, buenos días. Como dice Héctor, me llamo Clare Rees, Clare Linden en Second Life, y soy responsable de marketing en Europa para Linden Lab. Lo siento, pero mi castellano es muy malo, entonces hablo en inglés ahora, so that I don't confuse the wonderful translators. I will now start in English. It's wonderful to be here in real life, and welcome to everybody who is with us for this conference in Second Life. It is great to see how successful this mixture of real and Second Life can be. It's very inspiring for me as somebody who works for Linden Lab to see how the technology is used and how we can create communities and experiences such as this one for many, many different people to enjoy. Today, after what has been a very interesting and thought-provoking conference, I've enjoyed many of the sessions today. They have been very interesting. I would like to finish the day just by talking about how and what Linden Lab is working on in connection with Second Life now, and where we see some of those things that might just come along in the future, what our vision is. I would like to say that yes, we are indeed 6 years old. We celebrated our birthday on Tuesday. I hope maybe some of you had the opportunity to join the celebrations that we had in Second Life. We had a great time. I was very happy to receive my birthday cake pendant, which I wear on my avatar sometimes. I don't think I've got it on today, but it was a great time. Being 6 is quite interesting in this virtual world space. It is perhaps maturing a little bit, and certainly for Second Life there are many things that we see changing and progressing and moving forward as we work hard on developing and building the platform that we have. Just to put a little bit of background around it, for those of you who may know Second Life really well, you may not know as much about the company behind it, which is Linden Lab. It was founded nearly 10 years ago by Philip Rosedale, probably known better to you as Philip Linden, and we have grown to be just over 300 employees in 5 offices around the world. We have 1 office in Europe, in the UK. Most of the 300 people that work for Linden are indeed engineers and developers who are very hard at work on the platform that we produce. They are very, very bright and clever people who enable us to do what we are doing today and for all of us to enjoy Second Life. Rarely for a social media company or a networking company these days, we actually are profitable, which is quite interesting. We do actually run the business very successfully, and the benefits of that are that we have a very good balance sheet. We have venture capital investors. Mitch Kapoor, those of you who have perhaps followed technology for some time may know that Mitch Kapoor was one of the original founders of the Lotus development company, now part of IBM. and part of produces things like Lotus Notes. Jeff Bezos was one of the founders of Amazon. So we have very enthusiastic investors who believe in the virtual world and who are very happy to see how this is progressing, and very happy indeed that we reach our 6th birthday. One of the things that is absolutely key to Second Life, which I'm sure many of you know, but is very, very important when thinking about the uses, the fun, the work, the learning, the enjoyment that people have, is that it is a world created entirely by the residents who live there. Linden Lab provides the platform. It's you who create the world that is there. This means that there are hundreds of thousands of millions of digital content that is available for use in a virtual world. Some of it's bought and sold, some of it's traded for free, but there is a whole economy around the creativity that is within Second Life. It also means that there are many people who have skills in producing the content. There are many partners that are able to help people to get into and understand what is the world of Second Life, and it has a whole ecosystem of people who are there to support and build and develop the world. When I was thinking about the presentation today, I went back to thinking about how people thought about Second Life today. One of the presentations earlier was around the semantics of the web, which again showed how important words and the semantic use of them actually affects what we understand. And so these were some of the words that I thought come up and describe where we are with Second Life today. It is a very creative platform, it's very educational, we're a profitable company, people are absolutely passionate about what is happening in that world. It remains a very engaging experience to actually live and work within that environment. The other thing that is very important about Second Life is that it is truly a global phenomenon. We, as Linden Lab, as I said, we have a strong engineering base, and we've recently started to look a little more about understanding our customers and the people who are using Second Life, and one of the biggest and quickest surprises we had was that it is truly global. There are more than 60% of the residents and customers within Second Life are actually outside of North America, and 45% of them actually are from Europe. And this is a really big, significant part of Linden's business. Spain is very well represented. It is the equal fourth with Italy country in Europe. Germany is our largest group of non-US residents. So we have a big responsibility to make sure that we are addressing the needs of a truly global audience. 2009 has been a year of evolution for us. Perhaps reaching your 6th birthday in a virtual world is when you reflect and check in and make sure that you are ready for the next stage. We've been working very hard on the stability and scalability of the world of Second Life. This has been no easy undertaking. It has taken some very deep commitment by our engineers to actually get to the stage where we have, I hope, significantly improved the stability that we have in Second Life now. We've worked also very hard, which is just beginning to materialise, and you'll see a lot more of it in the next few months, to work on that experience of joining, of encouraging new people to come into the Second Life world, and to make it a little bit easier than it has been. That's another major project within the lab, to make sure that we are actually encouraging everybody to register and to actually engage with what they see and find there. We're making it easier to find things, we're making it easier to join and to experience the world of Second Life. And we have done a lot more work on localization, which I know will be hopefully very pleasing for this audience. We're working very hard on increasing the amount of local languages that we are able to support, localizing the viewer, a lot more of the experience of transacting business in Second Life, buying land, for example. And you will see, as this year goes on again, a lot of improvement in how Linden Lab is providing a local language experience. There's a lot of work going on around that, and I know perhaps there are people here who have also worked and helped us with that. We do work quite closely with our communities, who are the most passionate and enthusiastic helpers when it comes to localizing a lot of what we do, and our localization team is indebted to the great work that has been done there. We've also been hard at work thinking about the future and where we see trends in the virtual worlds. We see a lot around new opportunities for businesses to communicate and collaborate, much more than they have up till now. As was mentioned in the presentation from IBM, we have talked about our behind the firewall technology. We're getting very close to being able to talk a lot more about that, but it is about helping people to use and gain the benefit of virtual worlds inside their companies. So some of the things I think I heard mentioned earlier about how would you get groups and administer company data, how would you get those people into Second Life? Those are being addressed, and we will be able to talk a little bit more about that in a short space of time. I think those are very exciting options. They will enable a lot more people to experience the benefit of meeting, collaborating in an immersive way inside something like a virtual world. We've also launched some new voice options. One of the things that also surprises a lot of people is that we actually think that the voice options within Second Life are one of the sort of what they used to call in the software technology a killer app for the virtual worlds. We actually served up something like, I think it's 15 billion minutes of voice calls. That puts us into the top, I think the top 5 or 6 companies for providing VoIP systems. So actually, there's some ways we could think of Second Life and Linden Lab as being a voice communication company. But it is a very, very important part of what we do. We've also just launched into beta test something called Aveline, which is the ability for somebody who is out and about on their mobile to actually dial in and contact their friends who are in Second Life. that you can see is a way of us increasing our contact and connection to a number of different social networking opportunities. And these types of new ways of interacting with a Second Life experience are becoming increasingly important. There are two things that, as a European marketing director, happen to me probably once a week. One is a statement, which I get repeated to me, and one is a question. The statement is usually reported back as, Second Life, that's dead, isn't it? Second Life is dead. Well, I often feel like the famous author who, on being rather surprised to read his obituary in the newspaper, was heard to exclaim that reports of his demise were premature. And that is how I feel, because what I see is, far from being dead, it is actually a hugely vibrant and growing place. And what I think they mean by that is that during the hype in 2007, where it was viewed as another marketing, advertising property, and people didn't really understand how the community and the opportunity of meeting your customers was going to work, that part of it is perhaps over. What I see is more and more companies coming into Second Life, but for different reasons. For communicating with customers in a very different way, for communicating within their companies, and for just, really making use of the immersive experience that a virtual world can provide. The second thing is often a question, and the question is often, is there a credit crunch in Second Life? And again, the answer is, well, no, there isn't a credit crunch in Second Life, far from it. Most of the things that we consider to be important metrics of how to understand and measure a virtual world are increasing. Our users are spending increasing amounts of time within the world. In fact, there is a Nielsen report around games, where, although we don't consider Second Life to be a game, in the sense of retaining and engaging the people who are using it, then potentially we could be measured there, and we are second only behind World of Warcraft for the amount of time people spend in Second Life, running their lives in Second Life, interacting and communicating within those worlds. So we have a very, very high level of engagement. I mentioned we'd worked very hard on stability, and one of the proofs of that is that we now regularly see just short of 90,000 people in world at one time. That's a huge increase over our ability to meet those sort of targets a year ago. That's an awful lot of people in one place at one time, and we know they're there. If you have a website, you can measure how many people do come to your website, but it's after the fact. One of the great things about Second Life for thinking about marketing and such activity is that you know those people are there. They are attending events, they are enjoying what's there, they're shopping, they're meeting their friends. So that's another increase that we've seen. The other increase is the actual transactions between users. They're buying more from each other, they're probably selling more to each other, and so we're seeing an increasingly healthy and active economy. And also we are increasing the number of private regions that are owned. So far from a credit crunch, we actually see quite a lot of increasing activity and growth. Probably for this audience, you're pretty much aware of the sort of things that people do in Second Life, but there is such a broad range that I just thought that I would touch on some of the things that we see and some of the ways that we think about what happens there. It is one of the biggest social networks. People are online at the same time. People can not only just meet their friends and trade IMs or chat, they can sit down next to them. They can visit different destinations. They can take them by the hand, literally, and show them some great things that they have seen. It is a much more immersive and engaging experience than just checking out the latest updates from your friends on other social network sites. It's very engaging and immersive for that. Obviously, as we are a platform that allows users to create the content, creativity and creation is one of the key reasons that many people join. And you see the enthusiasm of these people who are building, creating all sorts of different items, and then they have the ability to sell them. And it fulfills a huge creative need that people have. It's also a testing ground for your business skills. Building a business in Second Life. Can you do it? What do you need to do? How would you go about that? And people really enjoy the opportunity to test that out. But what we also see is that business, government, and very particularly education are going virtual. There are now many different types of companies who have private islands, totally secure, able to conduct their own business without fear of being interrupted, and they do so on the main grid. These are the type of companies who are there. We see many, many different types of projects. There are many different education universities, both experimenting and also conducting their courses, running their courses. And it's as broad as the real world. These companies are embracing what the virtual world offers in a very, very important way. What are the benefits that they're getting? Well, they're getting the ability to collaborate on all sorts of different projects. They can meet and they can design and they can change design and they can look at prototypes. They can look at all sorts of different scenarios without having to travel or to meet or to arrange to spend a lot of time trying to get to see each other. Communication and training is probably one of the most important things that we see that businesses are gaining benefit from. There are all sorts of different training scenarios that are happening from taking courses, as BP did in the case that I have on the slide, doing an MBA in Manchester Business School and then attending the graduation awards ceremony. There are small collaborative meetings happening where let's get together. We can't travel, but let's get together. We need to solve this now. Let's do it. And so what we see is, I guess it's the 3 C's here, the cost reduction benefit is very significant in these straitened times in terms of travel budgets and so on. One of the things that maturing technologies tend to see is that applications start to be built on top of the technology. And this is one that has been released for Second Life. It's from a company called Rivers Run Red, and it's about running conferences and meetings in a virtual space in a way that gives you all the tools you need at one time. So what they have done is provided some extensive administration tools on the web for managing your media, streaming in all sorts of different media, for arranging the conference, enabling the participants to attend, recording what they need to, and producing various different meeting spaces. And this is very significant because I think this is a start of a trend of people thinking about what applications are going to make the use of virtual worlds accelerate. And what are the things that people will really need to do, and how can you solve that with a particular application? And that, I think, is part of the ecosystem and the maturing of the virtual world. The other thing we see as a very strong trend is thinking about games and learning, serious games if you will, which is a well-known description, for training that needs to be really immersive, so that you're immersed in the learning experience through role play, through making sure that you really understand the training that you are undertaking. So we see critical care training applications. We see people training to look at paramedic scenarios. How do they decide who's injured, what they need to do, what are the next steps they must take? Imperial College in London has done some work with particular medical equipment and the options of training people. If that goes wrong, if it's set up wrong, how could you improve that? And what would you do in that situation? And it has the added benefit of not killing any patients and hopefully teaching you well. We see that as very significant application for the virtual worlds, and the idea of simulation and role play being absolutely critical to how people are using that. The other obvious one actually is also learning languages. There are very successful companies who are teaching languages, and that again is done through role play. How much better to learn a language by talking and listening to actors speaking in that language, particularly if you're in a country or a situation where you cannot attend a language school, and you can understand a lot more and learn very quickly because you have a situation where the actor is able to react to the situation, to change what he's going to say, to make sure that you understand and take in the real benefit of talking to him. So we're seeing this training being very, very significant. Fortunately, Jürgen from IBM actually talked a little bit about one of these key case studies that we see now. When IBM's Academy of Technology needed to meet, but they had a full travel ban imposed, they did turn to Second Life to enable that, and they were very quickly able to make that conference happen. It's a keynote, it's a case study, it's all written up actually on our website if you want to know a little bit more about how they actually achieved that. But as was said earlier, it was a hugely successful way of bringing together the people who would attend that conference in real life and in others who would never be able to actually travel to do that. And they basically simulated the same experience for those users as they would have in real life. The satisfaction charts for the conference were very successful, and so we talk about this as a very fine example of what you can do if you need to in terms of collaborating and meeting and running conferences. So I just wanted to look forward a little bit without telling you exactly everything that Linden Lab is working on right now, but just thinking about some of the things that we see, and some of the things I heard come up in previous presentations, may be relevant to this. We see business and education use accelerating. I think that given the financial and economic situation, we can only see that accelerating. Businesses are struggling to find how they can continue to train their staff to the level that they require, and they're continuing to need to meet, but are not able to meet in real life as often as they used to. As I mentioned, there will be, I think, many more applications delivered for different ways of using Second Life. So we have the example of an immersive private meeting space and conference planning facility. There could be many others. There could be some different ways of doing things. There could be applications around data visualization. There could be things around delivering training content and how that actually gets delivered. We do see that Second Life will benefit and will have more social networking tools, in the sense that they would be linked to other social networks in a way that would include your identity from Facebook, your identity from any other networks that you may be a member of. And those are being actively looked at and worked on now. And definitely we see that there will be a lot more linking of 3D and 2D environments. And that's really about using the best tools for the job. So there are some things that it will always make sense to do in a 2D environment, where you need to use 3D, where you want to have a truly immersive experience, then clearly that's what you need to do. But the ability to link the two and to blend them is something that we see will be very important. Also, obviously, we touched in previous presentations around, moving between some of these environments, both the 2 and 3D, and potentially other virtual worlds. We have worked with IBM on transferring the avatar, moving to different worlds. We see that as something that people will continue to explore. It's not the easiest thing to be done, and it depends whether that's relevant, but it's something that we do work on. And as taking that avatar across to the different worlds is something that we think will happen. And we do think there will be a lot more integration between existing business applications and tools. So we are looking very closely at some ways of importing already created content, 3D content, and using that within Second Life. So we think that there will be ways of improving that. So watch this space, and we're working on it as much as we can. But we do see that these things will drive forward the use and the availability and accessibility of Second Life for a lot more people, and will make it a place that people will want to work, learn, and also hopefully continue to have fun. And we do think that this community, and we know that it continues to grow and continues to attract more people to actually have the benefit of working and learning and playing in a virtual space. So, thank you very much. Gracias. That's me. You can find me as Clare Linden in Second Life, and it's been a pleasure speaking to you this evening. Thank you.
Gracias, Clare. Tenemos varias preguntas ya desde Second Life. Vamos a pasar primero a las preguntas de Second Life y hay un par de ellas, luego iremos intercambiando entre las de la sala y las de Second Life. La primera por Second Life viene por escrito y dice lo siguiente: ya que OpenSea tiene cada vez más seguidores, pero aún no está a la mano de todos, ¿a qué quedará relegado Linden Lab si no se adapta al nuevo mundo? Si no sería más sencillo que en lugar de pagar tierras, pagáramos alquiler de servidores y se permitiera el inventario en ambos mundos. Que todos los usuarios tuvieran sitio para SL y OpenSea, manteniendo sus propias vidas, y Linden Lab pudiera ofrecer un soporte a quien no quiere pagar tierras, pero sí podría querer acceder a sus servidores, aunque fuese de una en forma de alquiler de conexión, entiendo. ¿No ven opciones de ese futuro? ¿No ven un futuro de esa forma?
Sorry, that was quite long, so can somebody give it to me in English, please? Sorry.
Ya necesitas un receptor. Sí. Ya que OpenSea tiene cada vez más seguidores, pero aún no está a la mano de todos, ¿a qué quedará relegado Linden Lab si no se adapta a este nuevo mundo? Si no sería más sencillo que en lugar de pagar tierras, pagáramos un alquiler de servidores y se permitiera el inventario en ambos mundos. Que todos los usuarios tuvieran sitio para SL y para OpenSea, manteniendo sus vidas en ambos mundos. Y Linden Lab pudiera ofrecer sostenimiento o soporte a quien no quiere pagar tierras, pero sí podría querer pagar un alquiler momentáneo para acceder a sus servidores. ¿No ven opciones como esa en el futuro?
¿Aquí se la puede traducir?
Sorry.
¿Ya escuchas? ¿No escuchas?
Sorry.
Bueno, de la que resolvemos este problema técnico con esta pregunta, que es un poco enrevesada y tal, por favor, pasamos a otra pregunta desde Second Life. Me parece que era Luis Aldrich el que quería hacer una pregunta por voice.
¿Otra vez? Okay, now.
Vale, bueno, perdonar, es a la vez justo una pregunta un
So
poco
now, the question is
enreversada
a little bit difficult,
y es un poco larga.
and it's going to be a long one, okay?
Ya que OpenSim tiene cada vez más seguidores,
OpenSim has more and more followers,
pero aún no está de la mano de todos,
but it's still not available for everyone.
¿a qué quedará relegado Linden Lab
What's going to be Linden Lab in the future
si no se adapta al nuevo mundo?
if it does not adapt to the new world?
Si no sería más sencillo que en lugar de pagar tierras,
Would it not be easier not to pay for lands,
pagáramos alquiler de servidores
but paying instead the rent for a server,
y se permitiera acceder con el inventario al usuario en ambos mundos?
thus allowing the user to have inventories for both worlds,
Que todos los usuarios tuvieran sitio para SL y OpenSim.
so that all the users can be both at SL and at OpenSim.
Y Linden Lab pudiera ofrecer soporte
Linden Lab would then give support
a quien no quiere pagar tierras,
for those who cannot pay lands,
pero podría pagar un alquiler de
or
servidores.
could pay the rent for a server.
¿No ven más opciones en ese futuro?
Would not that be an option for the future?
There's a number of things there. I think that currently it's true, yes, we do charge for a tier or a maintenance on the land, and that is our major revenue source right now. I mentioned that we are working on some different solutions for businesses to have their servers, Second Life on servers behind their firewalls. I think you will see as that type of installation and technology progresses, it might be that there would be different ways of thinking about how we would charge for that. But right now, land is in a way related to servers, even though it's not sort of written down right now. To create land, to make land, to have land, we need to put that onto new servers. So there is a connection. We happen to have chosen to use perhaps a real world model to have the charges relate to land. We see OpenSim occasionally. I think we have obviously explored that technology through our relationship with IBM and the moving of an avatar to other types of worlds. Moving inventories is very difficult. You come into questions of IP ownership and copyright. Obviously those people creating in Second Life own the IP and copyright for that. We need to be very careful about any enabling of that to make sure that we're not infringing on all sorts of legal implications. It's not as easy as it sounds, but I think there are things that we are looking at, but we do have that relationship already with the land, and OpenSim is something that is there. There are one or two people moving to it if it is appropriate for them, but actually you then have a very big task to create a lot of content. What we find is the benefit for businesses and people using Second Life is the availability of a huge array of content already that they can use as part of what they want to create. So, until I guess there is the same option in OpenSim and the same ecosystem and partners around to support that, we feel that Second Life would still remain a very good option.
Gracias. Hay otra cuestión desde Second Life. Luis Aldrich. Hola. Bueno, hay una latencia en la traducción. Bien, la cuestión es que al ser por traducción simultánea, lo están escuchando por otro lado, hace un poco de latencia, entonces todavía están escuchando la traducción simultánea.
Buenas tardes.
Hola, Luis.
Buenas tardes, Aitor. ¿Me podéis oírme?
Sí, te oímos perfectamente, gracias y perdona un poco el retraso. Adelante.
Vale, gracias. Bien, Clare, muchas gracias. Me gustaría hacerte una pregunta detrás de... ¿Podéis oírme? Sí.
Sí, perfectamente. Bueno, un poco saturado, aléjate del micro.
De acuerdo. Me gustaría saber cuál es la referencia del documento al que mencionabas antes respecto al hecho de que Second Life sea hoy por hoy el segundo mundo virtual más utilizado en Internet, solo después del World of Warcraft. Si pudieras darnos la fuente o una URL, sería perfecto. La verdad es que en España, todas las personas que nos dedicamos a...
Es de fuente, es de... Luis, se te ha ido la voz.
Hola, no sé si me habéis escuchado la pregunta antes. Si quieres la repito.
No, te has quedado...
Buenas. Mira, me interesa sobre todo seguramente con algunas personas compartidas aquí en la audiencia, es conocer la fuente, gracias, conocer la fuente de ese documento al que hacía referencia a Clare respecto a ese informe en el que se dice que Second Life puede ser el segundo mundo virtual más utilizado solo después de World of Warcraft.
I think that was you'd like to know where the data from the suggestion that Second Life was second to World of Warcraft, yeah?
No, lo que quiero conocer es la URL, el link, donde está ese dato de que Second Life es el segundo, de website.
I can find that. I'll have to look for it, but I can find it. We'll find a way of getting it to you.
Okay.
It was. The report was printed in the press in the last week, and for 2 months running, the Nielsen research firm, Nielsen data was reported, and for the last 2 months, Second Life was second to World of Warcraft. So I've seen the report in the press, and there is also a URL to see that.
No os preocupéis, si ahora a lo mejor buscar una URL o tal, no os preocupéis, Luis, luego te haríamos llegar, nosotros si Clare encuentra ese link, esa URL, te haríamos llegar a través de Second Life, a través de un mensaje instantáneo, la dirección de URL. ¿Alguna pregunta aquí en la sala?
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿En inglés? Okay. I want to ask you about some cultural places. As you know, for example, a place that has disappeared, Sparta. There are people that they don't want to earn money or lindens and put money for cultural places. Exists possibility about Lincoln Labs to support cultural places for that people that want to offer. They want to offer that kind of places. And for example, Sparta is an example that the owner has announced the end of the place because he would not continue paying titles for that place. Did you consider that possibility?
There are some ways that we do, in the sense that there is a special reduced rate for education and what we call non-profit, so charity or non-profit. They have a substantially reduced rate for land and for tier and so on in Second Life. There are, of course, many people who would like us to do that. It would be quite difficult for us to enable support for absolutely everybody, but we do look at ways that we can help those particular communities to exist in Second Life. Our main ability is obviously to enable a reduced cost to be there, but we try to support them by making sure that people can find them, and if they are also looking at donations when they're there, that they get traffic that can be directed to them. So we do try with our reduced rates.
Hay más preguntas de Second Life. Todas Turbo pregunta, aparte de los proyectos que hemos visto hoy aquí, ¿qué proyectos desarrollados en Europa destacarías tú?
Projects that are very successful in Second Life, that type of project. There are hundreds, there are thousands. We talk a lot about some of the very good arts and culture, to mention sort of cultural themes. There are many successful projects that are working in Second Life. The Dresden Art Gallery is a hugely successful business project that attracts a huge number of visitors all the time. A lot of the sort of institutions that are there are very well respected and thought of. I mentioned the Imperial College healthcare projects and they are very active with what they actually show in those healthcare sort of projects. There are also very successful brands and businesses. Orange runs the very successful Orange Island, and they are there because they want to reach certain communities of people that are relevant to a number of their businesses. So they are very active in promoting music events on their islands. They have very successful DJ competitions, various different activities like that. So they see it as a very strong community building and branding exercise. There are a number of very successful shops and brand names that are particularly European who are very active in Second Life as well. I could go on for, if there's some type of project that you're particularly interested in, then I can find some information for you if that would help.
No ha dicho si era algún proyecto en concreto, yo creo que ella se refería en general. ¿Alguna pregunta de aquí de la sala? Tenemos otra pregunta desde Second Life. Es, si Linden piensa incluir copias de inventario en el disco duro de cada usuario o herramientas de importación, exportación de apariencia y objetos, o lo hará cuando todos los visores no oficiales o la presión del público sea mayor y posiblemente ya sea tarde.
Yes, I understand the question. It's about inventories and preserving those and potentially moving them to different locations. As I said, I think that there's still quite a lot of work to be done to make that a regular and easy occurrence. As part of the work we are looking at for the behind the firewall solution, then obviously inventory and the transferability of inventory just between that closed environment and existing Second Life is something that we're looking at, and as part of that I'm sure that we will be considering the future way of managing inventory in virtual worlds, but I don't have a specific answer for that today.
Okay. Voy a hacer yo una pregunta, que es ¿cómo recibe Linden Lab, como propietaria de Second Life, el paso de estos 3 años, o por lo menos lo que se ha ido percibiendo desde aquí, ¿no? desde España o Iberoamérica? A pesar de que Second Life ha sido una plataforma que ha ido creciendo en cuanto número de usuarios conectados simultáneamente, desde hace 3 años que había una media de unos 17.000 más o menos, ha pasado a ser 50.000, 75.000 simultáneos en hora punta, ha crecido su economía, ha crecido el número de horas de utilización. Sin embargo, en prensa, de tener un boom, de tener mucha repercusión en prensa, porque había mucha información sobre compañías que se incluían dentro del entorno, ha pasado a parecer que era un entorno en el que no se debía estar, a ser realmente desprestigiado, ¿no? Por la parte empresarial sobre todo, ¿no? Yo tengo mi visión de eso, pero me gustaría saber cuál es la visión que recibe Linden Lab como compañía y el por qué cree que se dan esos efectos, porque en definitiva yo creo que pienso que en todo lo que respecta a información, promoción, marketing, no todo es casual. Hay algo que de verdad también aporte información contraria a Linden Lab, a Second Life, a la plataforma. ¿Hay alguna mano negra?
I don't think I don't think it's being deliberately sort of put about that Second Life is not growing as fast or is not doing what it could do. I think what we're seeing is a maturing of the whole market. I think there was absolutely the hype of a lot of marketing and media companies going into Second Life, but not really understanding the fundamental principle of building community and of engaging with that community. Absolutely no good to just plonk your corporate head office building down, or even to just open your store and expect people to come to you. It is exactly the same picture as happened with the web. And I was there, and I remember very clearly that this was the case, because many companies assumed that if they put up a website, people would read their rather dull text and boring corporate information, and they did not realize that the key would be to get people to engage and interact with their website. So the minute websites began to move a little bit, have some pictures on it, have some animation, the moment you were able to transact business on a website, then people understood the value. And it is the same with a virtual world to a certain extent. It takes a while for people to really understand the benefit that they see there and to understand how to make it